Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Right Time, a Wave Sports and Entertainment original presented by Prize Picks. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening wherever you get your podcast. Thanks for watching us on YouTube. Subscribe, like, rate us, review us, give us 5 stars. You only give us 4 stars. I'm inclined to believe you are a hater. It is that time of week where we have a guest joining us for the second time. He is the co-host of Higher Learning at The Ringer. He's still wearing that damn hat. Van Lathan, what's going on?
The hat is attached to my head, Bo. It's never coming off.
What's so funny about it is, I think you said somebody from Texas gave you the hat, but then I be remembering you from Baton Rouge, and so anything is really on the table here.
Yeah. I got the hat in Austin when I was going down there to do some work, but it's a part of me, bro. It's part of who I am. It's part of our heritage. We're taking it back.
Yo, I want to throw something at you right fast. We're going to get to a few things. This camera shot, I don't think you can see the LSU helmet behind Van, so I definitely want to talk to him about what it's like to have a team where nobody likes the head coach. They just literally do not like the man. I want to read something to you that I don't know if you happen to see. This says, Scoop, unlikely roommates. Sean and Diddy Combs and Sam Bankman-Fried now sharing a common space in the Brooklyn Detention Center, according to sources. And for those people who don't know who Sam Bankman-Fried is, he's the THX, the THC, what's it called? FTX, there we go. I almost called it
FTX,
THC, which would have been the most old man thing I possibly could have done. But anyway, buddy that ran that crypto scam. And how happy were both he and Diddy to see, oh, you're my roommate. Oh, okay. Yeah. I thought this could have been a lot worse.
That went about as well for Puff as it could have gone. It really, they are kind of birds of a feather. 2 guys that were riding high on the back of all of this criminality and all of this impropriety. And all of a sudden, they are together, man. Like that's a sitcom. That's a jail sitcom. That's like perfect strangers inside a prison. And Sam was probably the most notorious guy at Rikers before Puff got there.
Yeah, but I also think Sam need to be very careful about what Puff sees when he sees him. I've told people about this before. I think I've done it on this show. One time when I lived in Miami, I was walking through the Fontainebleau. This dude came up to me. He was some famous musician's right-hand man or whatever. He was like, oh, Bomani, he seen me on TV. He's like, yo, we partying with Puff tonight. I'm like, oh, okay, that seemed like, like I'd heard about the parties. They sound like they was cracking. They sound like the sort of thing I want to check out, but they got started too late, right? Like I woke up at like 7 o'clock in the morning the next day at 8, and I was like, man, my bad, dog. I didn't, I fell asleep. He's like, yeah, we still going. I'm like, oh, no, I definitely didn't need to be partying with y'all. But at the same time, the reason that I would have wanted to go to the party would have been, for purposes of this discussion, see what the entertainers was hitting on, or what the entertainment was hitting on. But what if I was the entertainment? Like, what if I walked in there and they was like, yo, we want to introduce you to somebody, and who's sitting right there but Cuba Gooding Jr.? You know what I'm saying? Sam need to make sure that he need to make sure that Diddle understands that he is not entertainment.
Look, Sam might have to cut his losses in that respect. That might be the best you could do.
You just saying give up already?
That might be the best you could do, Sam, because before he got there, some other people was, Sam, maybe there'll be some, at least he'll use some baby oil. So Sam might have to just, Sam might just have to cut his losses in that situation right there. The 2 guys that never thought they would be in that situation, but man, it's excess, it's greed, and it's thinking that the other shoe is never going to drop. Kind of, if you followed the FTX thing and knew what Sam was up to, he was doing a lot of the same things in a different world, trying to get next to powerful people, curry their favor. And there was some freakiness that was going on with all of the FTX people and some of the stuff that was going on in them islands and stuff like that. So he probably is like, oh my God, Diddy, at least it'll be gentle, but it probably won't be.
Yo, I just can't imagine what it's like to go to actual factual jail after the lives these cats have been living. Like, what it's like when you stay at a hotel that is not up to what your standards of living have become. Because I explain this to everybody. I remember when I was younger and I used to go to like the Hampton Inn, and I couldn't understand how it is that anybody got to a point where they was too good for the Hampton Inn. That didn't make no sense. The Hampton Inn was a perfectly serviceable establishment. It did the job. But what winds up happening is, as your own house gets nicer, you don't want to stay at a house that's not as nice as your own, especially when you basically paying a month's rent to have to stay there for 4 or 5 days, right? Your standard elevates. Now this dude is checking in to the 25 to Life Inn, and I assure you the mattress that he has at his house is much nicer than the mattress he will be sleeping on right now.
My therapist calls it the first class conundrum. My therapist was like, listen, there's stuff that happens in your life, right? He was like, I remember when I first went to one of these fancy lounges on Emirates or whatever, and you realize that the experience that you have when things are a step up is not just cosmetic. It's not just something that you're doing to say that you're doing it, that the leg room is better, the service is better, you sleep better, you get to where you're going better, and then you can never go back. And he's like, life is about choosing the things that when you get to the next point that you can never go back. Not everything can be that, but there have to be a couple things in your life where you get to this one spot and you go, okay, this is the new standard. I'm never going back. To go from houses in Miami and LA and, you know, you're on Star Island, you're doing all of this, you're in the islands, to literally 3 hots in a cot. And you got the homies that representing the blue and the red flags, and they're in there and they there too. You have moved away from those people. It's got to be impossible.
Van, you forgot about the Nazis.
Yeah, Schillinger.
Like, you forgot about the Nazis. We got our amigos from various countries and whatever it is they got going on. I imagine what them boys, the Juntao and them. Right?
Yeah.
They like everywhere you look, right? And I mean, and not everybody likes your songs. You know what I mean?
Right.
Nobody.
Exactly.
There's somebody in there that thinks you ruined hip hop.
There's somebody in there that thinks you ruined hip hop. There's somebody in there that know you still got it. So right away, you a piggy bank. You get in there, they know you still got it. I mean, he's not gonna have it for long, because the people that are most happy about this, besides the victims of this that are now going to get justice for all of these terrible crimes that have been committed against them, are Puff's lawyers, because they are going to be able to slowly drain him for the amount of time that he is going through this. But that's not going to be the only place that the drainage occurs. Pookie, Big Rob, Steve from 113th, all of these guys, in order for him to curry that favor, they gonna be able to come up. Like, a lot of people was happy to see Diddy coming right there and right there, man.
Oh yeah, let me tell you this too. You mentioned the 3 hots in a cot. We said 3 hots in a cot. We didn't say 3 goods and some wood. Can you imagine what that first spoonful is gonna be like for Diddy? Like, how many days is it gonna be before he finally just gets so hungry that he just got to go ahead and eat what they giving him?
I don't know. See, this is the thing I always wonder, right? Because you remember Goodfellas, when they was inside and they was in there cooking steaks? Johnny Cash made the base steak and it just sizzled up the joints and the hacks will go crazy. Or in The Wire, when, you know, Avon was in jail and he was in there playing PlayStation and eating KFC.
Yes.
Will Puff have the KFC hookup? Will there be somebody that can get the KFC and the stuff? How does that work? You should have somebody on here to talk about that. Will there be KFC contraband or Popeye's contraband going in there to this guy who's accused of all of these disgusting, terrible, heinous things, someone whose time is up? Will he be able to game the system in that way? Or is time run out on him living a high life?
Well, you know, that is a good question. This is the point that immediately jumps to my mind. And you tell me if I'm wrong here, because I may be going too far, right? But them dudes in Goodfellas and Avon Barksdale, they some gangsters. Diddle is simply an alleged criminal.
Yeah.
Did you see when Prime Minister Shine got up there and was talking about Diddle down there in Belize?
Yeah.
So
I saw that.
So here's something I think with Prime Minister Shine that we, you know, not that it really matters to us because he in a different country, but I feel like we haven't like adequately researched his views, shall we say? Mm-hmm. And let's just say that if he was kicking it in the America, like he kicks it in Belize, somebody might call him, shall we say, cartoon. You know what I mean? Ooh. Like he's about keeping people in jail longer. He endorsed Mitt Romney in 2012, and his rationale for endorsing Mitt Romney in 2012 was that Obama did not get him out of jail, because we all know that Mitt Romney was going to get your black ass out of jail. Yeah, he was going to do that. Also, while Shine was in jail, he did the opposite of what most people do. He changed his name away from Jamal rather than to Jamal.
Yeah, it's crazy. Shine, we don't really believe you, Shine. Shine, we know that it went left, but let's talk about what really happened. What really happened was that Shine was the guy in the crew that was supposed to bust his gun for the other guy.
Yes.
And we all know that guy in the crew that's supposed to do that, right? We've seen the gun busters and who they are. Shine was happy. He was with Bad Boy. He was with Jennifer Lopez. Puff caused some drama. Shine busts his gun. There are a lot of people now, and there's no defending anything that Puff has done over the course of his career. And there are a lot of different ways that he ran afoul of people, right? Some of them are straight up business ways. Some of them are these ridiculously disturbing allegations that are against him. But then there is a part of this to where there are a whole bunch of people that wanted to opt into that lifestyle, that wanted to opt into the aura of Bad Boy, and they would have done anything to be a part of that. And I think there are some people that need to take responsibility for what they wanted to be, which is next to him. And Shine is one of those people that had an image. Like, remember, even after he was in jail, I remember they interviewed Shine on MTV, and he was talking about how he could record in prison whenever he wanted, and he could do all this whenever he wanted. He went through whatever he did as a younger man, and he turned away from his father's political standing in their home country, and he wanted to be a thug. The thug life didn't work out. He got hit with a couple of years. Now he's a politician. But it's not all anybody's fault that Shine took a trip to Wayward Land. He had made some life decisions that were not aligning with where he was and who he was from. We didn't even know that about Shine, that his daddy was like the president of Believe. It's like, no, nobody. I was like, why? He was like, who wanted to vote with us? I thought he was a gangster. He said he was Alpo before he snitched. I'm like, what's... Yeah.
Well, the thing was, apparently his mother and his father were not married when he was born.
I see.
There was some stuff there, and then he wound up going back. And I also don't think, we could actually go and throw this in here. We gonna throw a few seconds of this interview with Shine in here. Let's just throw it in right here.
When I was a 18-year-old kid, just wanting to do nothing other than make my mother proud and make Belize proud and do what all of us want to do, be recognized for our talent and take over the world. I was defending him, and he turned around and called witnesses to testify against me, and he contributed. He pretty much sent me to prison.
Hey, man, Shine didn't talk like this when he was in America. Like, I imagine he'd been in Belize for a long time, but he definitely took on the accent of the locals. Like, he does not sound like Biggie no more.
Yeah, he just, actually, I'm sort of proud of him. He just became the same type of phony politician type that everybody else did, but no, he'll live longer doing it that way than on the track he was before. He might still end up in jail, because those politicians go to jail as much as the rappers are the drug. He might still end up in jail, but this will probably be better for him in the long term.
Yo, I see it. We just wound up talking about Diddle because I happened to see this thing pop up. The thing I wanted to talk to you about, and I think we can get here, we'll just see where it goes, because you and I talked about this last season. I actually think it's a very interesting point now. We've texted a little bit about this season, but not that much. But that is year 2 of the Deion Sanders experience. They are 3-1. It is a little bit of a shaky 3-1, but it's 3-1 nonetheless. I'm curious about this part. Before we even get to the football, does the energy, I mean, obviously the energy around it doesn't feel the same as when they were on like the cover of Sports Illustrated and stuff like that. But do people still care about what's going on down there with Colorado and Deion? Like, I can't tell. I haven't seen the TV numbers. It doesn't feel the same, but I think you're a little more connected with the people that was on it when it first got popping.
The people that care still care. And I know that sounds like a non-answer, but let me tell you what I mean.
No, I get you.
The real way that you know that the heat behind something has evaporated is when the people that cared didn't care anymore. I'm not talking about everybody else who had this cultural curiosity about Colorado or college football or Deion Sanders or any of that stuff. I'm not talking about that. Those people probably weren't in it for the long haul anyway. But the people that last year decided that they cared about Deion, those people still seem to care. Because if you have conversations and criticisms around Colorado's program that are anything less than glowing, those are the people that you still hear from, right? And look, what happened at Baylor this past week, that is part of college football. For everyone else that wants to write that off as not a legitimate win, in college football, the way this game is played, you sometimes get out of one of those small towns just having made one more play than your opponent. It happens. Right. And there was a lot of excitement for it and all of that. I will say the periphery of everything, the Sports Center features from Boulder, the who's who of this and all of that, that has sort of changed, and it will change because no one wants to be connected to something that's anything less than successful.
Right. I wonder what it'll take for it to come back, right? Because they're 3-1, and you're right about the Baylor game. Sometimes it is just about making one more play. Now, there are two arguments to be made here. One, Baylor stinks. But
that was
the other
all-time terrible loss.
Yeah. And they're not generally good. Like that's the kind of game that gets coaches fired. And Aranda, in the end, this may be a thing that gets him fired. But
right.
I think, and this is where I give Colorado credit this year, they got destroyed by Nebraska. That was full on embarrassing. And it's one thing for them to lose games like that in year one. It's another thing for them to lose that in year two. And you have a guy that people think might be the best quarterback in America. You got a dude that people think is the best player in America. No matter what your depth is hitting on, losing like that to a team with a freshman quarterback who's pretending to be a black person while not pretending to be black. It's a very interesting thing that Rayola's got going there. He's threading the needle in a very particular way. But to get smoked like that was all bad. But I gave them credit because they got back up, and that was the Colorado State Super Bowl, and they went out there and they handled them boys. And it's not that Colorado State is great. That's not my point. They came back after a loss against an opponent that you know was locked in to beat them, and they handled business. And then they stood tall in that Baylor game to win in the end. Even last year, a lot of those games where they were down early, they never quit. They played 4 quarters of football. Like, that's why I give them credit. I also don't know if they're going to win another game this year. I really don't, because they're not good.
I don't know if they're going to win another game. They probably shouldn't have won the game that they just won. However, players make plays, and you have to make plays to win games, like we said before. This is what I'll say. The main thing about Colorado last year wasn't necessarily the win-loss record, right? Because they were so terrible the year before, you can make an argument that they took incremental steps forward last year. The way that the team played towards the end of the year, where it didn't seem like they ever really found an identity, and it didn't seem like they ever really improved. There was nothing at the beginning of the year, nothing at the end of the year that they were really doing better than they were at the beginning of the year. You can make an argument that a team finding ways to win games is counter to that, like them winning against Colorado State, them winning the game that they won, that there's something to build on. However, now, what I would say is, you're right. They do play. They engage. They are a better second half team. They have pride in what it is that they're doing. They don't lay down. It just doesn't seem like they're that well constructed a football team. The next 3 weeks are going to really be crucial into judging how the program at Colorado will fare in the future. Not very many people think that there's a long-term track for Deion to be the coach there. But 3 weeks, they're coming off of a big win. They're coming off of, how are they going to play? Are they going to play with the team that has some kind of continuity, that has some kind of pride, that has some sort of identity? or you're going to get some retreads of the Nebraska game. You won't be able to judge him throughout the entire. It's almost like, it's so weird, Bomani. It's like you kind of got to judge him on vibes.
Yeah.
It's like, how does it feel?
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because like they're such a weirdly constructed team that they're going to lose to people they shouldn't lose to, and then they're going to beat people or be competitive in ways that they shouldn't be competitive. They literally have like 4 or 5 good players total. So you almost have to judge them on how things are feeling.
Right.
And whether or not that's going to be recreatable in the long term in terms of Deion Sanders' career there.
Yo, I'm kind of okay with vibes being the standard for a program like Colorado, right? Like, hear me out on this. I contend there's 135 FBS programs at this point. There is literally one that plays for a national championship every year. That's Alabama.
Yeah.
They're the only ones where if it's not a national championship, it's a problem. Everybody else, when they got
you
a
could
chance.
Argue Georgia's in there now.
Well, they're kind of there, right? Because they had a run. But
yeah.
Generally speaking, for everybody else, if you like, hey, guys, I think we might have a chance at a national championship, that's good enough, right? The feeling that you might have a chance at Alabama is, so we go win a national championship this year or not, right? That's what the case has been there for 60-something years.
Sure.
Everybody else has their own little different standards of what is good, what's not good. Like I like to break it down by wins, right? Some schools are 9-win schools. Some schools are 8-win schools. Some schools are 7-win schools, right? Like you root for LSU, which is kind of a 9-win school that has a ceiling of being a 13-win school, but could also give you a 6-7, depending on how it goes, right? Colorado, outside of that little time period where they were like, yo, we hear that you live a hard scrabble life in Los Angeles and need to get far away from home. How'd you like to come to Colorado? And they was winning national championships, right? Hey, man, if the vibes are good, if you're happy with what's going on, if it's a little bit exciting, if you guys win 6, 7, 8 games a year, to me, for Colorado, if you keep your expectations in check, that's a win. Like, I don't know how they felt in the end about last season, but I mean, it sounds like that was a fun season to be around. And as long as Deion don't come out here acting like a jerk, then everything's cool, because he definitely started the season in jerk mode with the way he was dealing with the reporters and everything else. But it's Colorado, baby. It's all about vibes, man. They just trying to get out here, smoke a little weed, be into altitude, have a good time.
The thing with LSU or another team like that is that you have that 9-10 win expectation, but then every 3 years you get a feast. Every 3 or 4 years you get a feast. And when we feast at LSU, we feast. We feast like 2011, we feast like 2003, we feast like 2007, we feast like 2019. And everybody is still full off that feast for like 3 or 4 years. Right? 3 or 4 years. Up and down, we can remember. I can still turn on 2019 LSU and get the warm and fuzzies and know I was there when we were unbeatable. And it's not that not that long ago.
Right.
The thing is, will Deion and Colorado ever be able to feel the bellies of the fan base? Like, I don't think with as much attention as is on him and with the rhetoric and the bluster, that they're going to give full off 6 or 7 wins, because then it'll feel like it's just all dessert. Like, I don't think that's going to – I think if Deion went at it a different way, if he was a Dave Aranda type coach, you could deal with 8 wins and then every 3 years playing for the Big 12 or whatever. But with him, he wants to do things in such a big way. Like, it looks weird to have Lil Wayne performing for a 7-win team. You know, it looks weird to have The Rock on the sidelines for a team that's really not a player and doesn't play for championships and is not in there. He'd have to tone it down for that to be palatable to the people there and the national news media. And I don't think he's capable of that. So the question is, how good of a coach can he be? And the returns aren't good, but we still kind of don't know. Because in order for him to live up to what he's put out there, he's going to have them playing for conference championships at the very least.
Yeah, and I think part of it is I talked about this on the show before, but I think it's a very important thing. A big part of coaching is keeping spirits up when things don't go well. Like, that's a very, very important part of this. Like, when you're not having a great season, being able to keep people's eyes on, no, it's cool, we're building, we're going to get to this other thing, or like, no, this is beneath the standard. I understand what it is that you're saying, but you got to keep people going when it's down to buy yourself the patience that it takes to build the thing back up. Because, hey, Shadour's probably not going to be there next season. Travis Hunter is probably not going to be there next season. There ain't no other Shedeur Sanders on this team. There is not another Travis Hunter on there, and you're not going to find those guys in the transfer portal, because guys like that, when they transfer to where Travis Hunter's going to transfer to next year, the NFL, right? You're going to have to get on your high school recruiting horse, and you're going to have to go get one of those guys. And if you get those dudes, it's cool. But if you don't get those dudes, oh, boy. Like, next year, I think, is the one that's going to be the test, because from what I can tell, they're just not going to have the star power.
There's a kid that they just flipped. Looks like a corner that they flipped from, I can't remember, maybe Florida or one of those other schools, Texas or something like that. He's going to need a lot of those. This is what I would say. When you look at coaches that build staffs, when you're a fan of the team, you celebrate every hire. You don't just celebrate the recruits that you get in, right? Oh, we got this GM back from Ole Miss. We got this recruiting coordinator back from this person. We got this analyst. We got this, like the tendrils, the small parts, the little muscles of a very successful college football program. All of those things have to work for you to get success at the top. And the question is, are those people in place? That's always the thing. Like, how are things running there? Because the uniforms are crazy. They look great, right? Travis Hunter is spectacular. But who's in the back office? Who's in the front office? Who's doing the work right now for high school recruits now? They don't come from a fertile recruiting ground in Colorado. Who's doing the work in LA? Who's doing the work in Texas? Who's doing the work in Louisiana and Florida? Who's doing the work in the areas that people love and know Deion Sanders? Are there people there that are smart enough to say he played in Texas, he's from Florida? These are all the places that he might resonate with people, right? Let's go to some of these places and establish recruiting. Who recruits Texas for you? All of that stuff. Like, does that exist there? Do they know how to build it? And a lot of times with that, it takes a while for a coach to do that. But normally, when a coach is figuring that out, Mike Norvell lost for like 3 years at Florida State. But there was a faith in Mike Norvell and a patience with Mike Norvell, because he had done it at Memphis, and people felt like organizationally, he's not doing it right now, that organizationally he will be able to do it again. Deion brings so many eyes with him that the expectations get so crazy at the beginning that it actually works against them, because he doesn't have the opportunity to really put his head down and just work on the low without everyone paying attention to everything that they do on the field. And he needs some time just to build if he knows how to do it.
Yeah, and he needs his Frank Wilson, right? He needs his Ed Ogeron. He needs his Rodney Garner. For those who don't know, these names I'm throwing out here is the dude that gets dudes. There's a whole wing of these cats is the dude. What do? I get players. How do you do it? I get players.
Yeah. You're wondering, Leonard Fournette, who could have gone to any school in the galaxy, you wonder why he ends up at LSU. It's Frank Wilson. You wonder why LSU becomes DBU. That's Corey Raymond. You look at all of these guys, Bo Davis and all of these different guys. You look at these guys. These are the guys who you don't see, like at the press conferences and stuff, but they're making $1.52 million a year for doing what it is that they do. Those are the guys that really build programs. Some of them will go on to become head coaches. Some of them won't. Some of them, they'll be Hall of Famers in college football where they are doing what they're doing right now. And so it remains to be seen whether or not he had a couple of those guys last year and they're gone now. But it remains to be seen whether or not that's going to happen for Colorado. But it could.
All right, advertising time. We'll come back, talk some more with Van Lathan on the right time. Hey, the NFL is back, which means you can turn $10 into $1,000 in a single game watching your favorite teams only on Prize Picks. You can make a Prize Picks lineup in as little as 60 seconds. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play 5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and an enormous selection of players and stat types are what make Prize Picks the #1 fantasy sports app. But rather than hearing it from me, let's talk to somebody who uses Prize Picks. Sean, how them picks been going for you?
You know what, Bo? I'm excited that the NFL is back, and so is Prize Picks because, like I said last week, they have a special new promo this month. One Caleb Williams passing yard gets you one win on Prize Picks every week in September. That's right. Only 1 yard gets you an automatic win every weekend in football this September. 4 weeks of free W's. Don't miss out on this deal on Prize Picks because it's gone when September ends. And don't forget to tune into the end of the show to hear my picks for the rest of the season. I will do my best to not lead you guys astray.
There you go. So make sure you go to prizepicks.com/Bomani and use code Bomani for a first deposit match up to $100. That's prizepicks.com/Bomani. Prize Picks. Daily fantasy sports made easy. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. Sean, school's officially back in session for kids. What's something you'd love to learn? I know as adults we tend to lose the desire to learn, but do you make time to learn new things as often as you'd like?
You know, for me, Bo, I'm always trying to learn, whether it's picking something new up in regards to this job, like a new editing tool, piece of production equipment, or also learning about news that I might have never seen before. And thanks to our If You Haven't Heard segment on Monday episodes, like I kind of tend to learn something new every episode.
All right. That and therapy can help you reconnect with your sense of wonder because your back to school era can come at any age. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Celebrate the progress you've already made. Visit BetterHelp.com/Bomani today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Bomani. If you're anything like me, your favorite time of the year and busiest is the start of football season. You might find yourself staying up late to watch the games, snacking more than you typically do, and not on the healthiest options, all while watching super intense games. In case you don't know, all of the game time stress and unhealthy habits can actually take a toll on your hair health in the long run, which is why now is the perfect time to start taking Nutrafol. Your hair is never just about your hair, and Nutrafol knows that. It could be the foods you're eating, the sleep you're not getting, or even following your favorite sports team in an intense season. It could be almost anything that has almost nothing to do with hair. That's why Nutrafol takes a whole body approach to hair health, addressing the problems inside to help hair grow on the outside. Address your root causes of hair thinning with Nutrafol, the hair growth routine that keeps up with your life. For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com and enter promo code Bomani. Nutrafol.com, spelled Nutrafol.com, promo code Bomani. That's Nutrafol.com, promo code Bomani. All right, Van with the funny hat, I have a question for you. I was watching Monday night, the Commandos and the Bengals, and Jayden Daniels looked like that dude. Malik Nabers looked like that dude over the weekend. And I'm just curious, why LSU lose so many games last year?
We had no defense, bro.
I need to ask you this, though, about the LSU experience, because you guys are in a fascinating place, which is you guys have a not good coach. You have a great coach. You have a coach that I think is ultimately going to be in the Hall of Fame. You have a coach that nobody likes. No one ever likes him. Like, is this an enjoyable LSU experience? Because Ogeron and Les, say what you want about both of them. They was a little goofy. They was a little kooky, but they was fun. Brian Kelly is the opposite.
It's interesting. So there are definitely things about Brian Kelly. He's like a cousin, right? A cousin that you realize some of the things that people say about him are true, but you like, he in the family.
Here now.
You know, you got a cousin, you love your cousin. People say things about your cousin. They're like, he'll steal from you. He done this, he'll do that.
You just said Brian Kelly smokes rocks.
Yeah, he smoked the whole nine, but he your cousin though. You know, people say that Brian Kelly sometimes doesn't have a team prepared to play in the first quarter, first half of a game. That's definitely true. People say that Brian Kelly can come off as unlikable and unrelatable. That's definitely true. I watch every press conference. I'm rooting for BK. I'm believing in BK. The purple and gold family is more important than anything that anybody says from the outside. I'm not going to say they lying, But it don't matter. He family now. We ride until the wheels fall off.
Brian
Best
Kelly.
I can do.
I still say the most amazing thing about Brian Kelly is Brian Kelly left Notre Dame for LSU, and you know how many assistants he brought with him? I know you know. Tell the people how many assistants Brian Kelly brought with him from Notre Dame.
One? He had Polian?
Zero. He didn't bring a single.
Polian didn't come from Notre Dame. Polian didn't come with him.
One person came with him, which means either he didn't ask any of them to come, or none of them were willing to go.
Nah, there were guys definitely. There was Marcus Freeman. There was Tommy Rees. There was definitely.
He did
guys.
ask Tommy Rees. None of them came.
Tommy
Rees stayed with Marcus up there. None of them wanted to go work with Brian Kelly. That's the most damning thing I've ever heard.
And you know what the funny thing about that was? In Baton Rouge, we were asking, do they just not want to move to Baton Rouge? Is it us? We were like, when you go on the message boards, you was like, is Baton Rouge too shitty of a place for these people to want to come live and coach there? It's like, they just don't want to live in the South. Is it us? But, he had guys that he had prior relationships with, Polian, Mike Denbrock, guys like that came, but nobody that was on staff at Notre Dame then came down. Look, it is what it is. I think he has a great staff there now. Really, he has a great staff that's made up of guys that had close ties to LSU prior to his time being there. So I think he has a great staff now. We'll have to see how it goes. Last year, if LSU just has a top 50 defense, we're in the playoff. But I'll say this to everyone that you have to look at where LSU was when he came there. We were playing in the Texas Bowl against Kansas State, and we have 39 guys suiting up. We have a wide receiver. Shout out to him, by the way, Jonte, who's playing quarterback for us. Ed Ogeron has gone. He's tried to have sex with everyone in Baton Rouge. And we are rebuilding from nothing. The year after that, to win the SEC West. The year after that, to have a Heisman Trophy quarterback, despite the fact that we still don't have a full team. We still have a faulty defense. We're trying to replenish everything. I think the job that he's done has been spectacular. The question for him will be whether or not his rebuild job can outlast the expectations of the fan base, because he's running a marathon and we only have short-term memories and forecasts in Baton Rouge.
Something about the Ogeron era that is or the end of Ogeron that I find to be very interesting. I am firmly of the belief every time somebody say that they would love to just get bought out, like when you hear about somebody getting fired and they get like $20-something million, whatever it is, but I would love to get fired and get that money. I know that sounds good in practice, but I honestly think that for most people, like, you derive some identity from the work that you do. You got to find some way to kill the time, like all of that stuff, right? Because the truth is, outside of going to work, everything else costs a whole lot of money, even if you have a lot of money, right? Most people would actually rather work for that money than just have somebody give it to them like that. That, I do not believe, applies to Ed Ogeron, even the slightest bit. Ed Ogeron took that buyout, and he looks like he is having the time of his life, just going places. He could take one of those little assistant jobs or whatever. No, sirree, Bob. Ed is out here like, oh, what I need to work for? I don't need no job.
Yeah, it's a good Ed Ogeron. Ed could actually probably make one of those salaries I was talking about by going out and recruiting. He is one of the most effective recruiters in the history of college football. Ed in Miami, okay? Ed in Miami. He don't have to worry about messing up and trying to hit a booster's wife in Miami. Ed got money. Ed still think he look good. He was all over Baton Rouge with his shirt off. Ed didn't have fun. And he accomplished something that a lot of coaches won't ever accomplish, which is to put that type of team on the field with those type of players. So, there is a part of the reason why there's so much talent.
Yes.
In Louisiana, yet we're not perennially at the top. We're not we like to have fun, Bomani. Like, what's the point of it if you can't get drunk behind it? Like, we like to have fun. We like to get serious when it's time to win, but Ed embodies that. Look, I went out here and I done all of that. Now you give me 2 years to get out here and get it.
Yeah.
And we like to have a good time.
But that's the other thing for me about Ed that I like so much about it in the end. What else was there for Ed Ogeron to do at LSU? Ed Ogeron, even if he checked all the boxes in 1 year, Ed Ogeron has a claim, and I don't know if I agree with this being the case, but he has a legitimate claim to being the head coach of the greatest college football team of all time. I don't think to call it the greatest team of all time is tough for me, but that is, I think, the greatest offense that college football has ever had. That may, in the end, have 3 legitimate Pro Football Hall of Famers when it's all said and done. What else I'm supposed to do here?
It's the greatest run of all time. Like you can't. I mean, that Miami team. Come on, man. You know what I mean? You can't really. Like it's kind of stupid, bro, that actually happened. It's ridiculous. I don't know if everybody they took the recruiting off. They weren't going out to get to. It's just nuts, like how that could possibly happen, right? But when you look at LSU and what they beat, as far as the top 5 teams that they played, when you look at the margins they beat, it's definitely the greatest, most dominant run to beat that type of competition of all time. Like nobody was fucking with us at all. No one could touch us. So, I mean, the only other thing for him to do would have been that 2 or 3 times. And that just takes an organizational structure that I don't think Coach O was capable of, right? I don't think he was capable of that, right? And you have to hit on some guys. Remember, Justin Jefferson coming in was
a 2-star recruit. I thought he was a 2. Like
yeah.
I knew his brother was a much more highly regarded recruit than he was.
Well, both of his brothers were, right? And so, like,
I didn't know there was another one.
Yeah. It's Jordan and Ricky.
Oh, I didn't know about no Ricky Jefferson.
Yeah, so both of those guys coming in were bigger recruits, and then he just blossoms and develops. And when you were looking at it right then, you could tell. And that Terrence Marshall got hurt that year, like he barely played. So when you look at some of those guys, Clyde Edwards-Helaire broke out. Yeah, it was a serviceable back, a good back for the time that he was at LSU. But then that year he broke out. It's just sometimes a plan just comes together with Joe Brady and with everything else, the freshman Derek Stingley and all of that stuff. Things just came together, and that just doesn't happen every single day. That's magic. You put that in a bottle and you remember it forever.
Hey, I'm going to be honest with you, man. I did not know about the other Jefferson brother, and I'm going to tell you right now, Ricky Jefferson sounds like trouble. Like if I tell you I got a story about a dude named Ricky Jefferson, you don't think that story involves college? No, you don't. No, you don't. Or if it involves college, it involves a ruckus in the dorm.
But see, that's he got there. That's LSU royalty, and then the scheme and everything, they just blossom and they develop them, and it becomes when the story was about Chase that year, but Chase was your deep threat. Like Justin was your. We need 9. Like we need 9. Go get us 9. Justin was the guy 3rd and 17 on the road in Austin, across the middle, then house it. He was the guy that I was like, on the NFL level, what is he not going to be able to do? And then he lives up to it,
Yeah, no, like I say, the fact that Jamar Chase has been as good as advertised in the NFL, but Justin Jefferson has been better is wild.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the teams now. You look at who's in the league. You look at Jefferson. You look at Chase. You look at Stingley. You look at Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who's not quite having as good a career as some of those other guys. You look at Daniels. You look at the talent all over, and LSU is doing their thing, and they got more guys at LSU right now who I believe are going to be amazing players on the next level. Mason Taylor is going to be a difference-making tight end for an NFL team.
What about Harold?
The smoothest, strongest hand. We'll see about Harold Perkins.
So, because the question seems to be, I think most of us think the problem is not Harold Perkins. Most of us think the problem is Brian Kelly.
Well, I mean, I don't know if that's entirely fair. Let me tell you the way I look at it. So Harold Perkins goes about 6'1", 225, right? He's a classic tweener. He is twitchy. First of all, I think Perk, let me say this first of all. Obviously, Perk to heal up and go get his money in the NFL. And I hope that he has a speedy rehab and he comes back stronger than he was before. They tried him at a couple different positions while he was at LSU, trying to figure out how to make use of his very unique skill set. Honestly, if you wanted to put him out there on the outside and just say see ball, get ball the entire time, that seems like the best way to use him, to where he could just rack up stats and become a big time prospect first rounder. But he's a little small, right? And then when you get him in space, he's not that great a tackler, right? So there are limitations to Perk and ways that you have to use them, and you wonder on the next level, does he bulk up to 240 and become more of a traditional sideline to sideline linebacker, but then he has to tackle a little bit better? And if he gets a little bit heavier, does he lose some of the explosiveness that he has? And if he loses that, is he the same Harold Perkins? On a chase down, going to get a speedy mobile quarterback, he's really, really good. But sometimes when you need him to do the things to be just like a solid in-space linebacker, he was still developing those things. And Blake Baker was still figuring out how to use them in the new scheme. So, Perk has all the athletic talent to be a multiple-time Pro Bowler in the NFL, but finding a role for him, being that type of tweener, is a little bit difficult, a little bit more difficult than people think it is.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I don't think I told you the story because Harold Perkins is from like Northwest Houston over there where I'm from. And I went to high school with a dude named Harold Perkins. And I was very disappointed to find out that this Harold Perkins, and this Harold Perkins, by the way, is Harold Perkins Jr. It mapped out perfectly for the years that I thought that he was the dude I went to high school with, son. And then I found out he wasn't. And I'm going to be honest, I got a lot less interested at that point. It became completely unfair to this 5-star player. I thought we had a connection. You know what I'm saying? Nope, did not.
That just happened to me, and it ended up being true. There's this guy that went to school with me at Tech. He was a long jumper. His name was Brian Westco. And, man, we used to play in the gym with Westco. You ever play basketball with a long jumper or a triple jumper or whatever? You ever been hooping with them? All they do is dunk the ball all over your head and bang, bang. And Westco will come in the gym, and everybody, I want to be on this team because I want to throw a lob to somebody. And I'm looking at this prospect out there, and it's like Bryant Westco, and he's from. I'm like, oh, that's cool. He's got the same name as Westco, and it's his son. I'm like, what? It's his kid.
No,
I'm like, damn, I'm old. His son is already going to college now. It's his kid, his little boy going to school. Good for him. Hope
that's
what happened.
Well, that's why I had with Lagway.
Oh, for real?
Lagway's father, Derek Lagway. This is Derek Lagway Jr. That's at Florida. So when it was a Lagway from Willis, Texas, there was no mystery as to who this was.
Right.
Derek Lagway, and they used to call that boy Shaq. He was like a 4-year letterman and running back. And when he was a freshman playing running back, his quarterback was Michael Bishop. And so, and hold up. They tell me it's another Bishop coming, and it's not Michael's son, it's his cousin Jermaine's son, but Jermaine was a monster too. But with Lagway, I was like, oh, we're really there. And being Lagway's son, that ain't even like a son that Lagway had at like 16. Like Dre Kirkpatrick has a son that's a big time recruit now. And it's not because we're that old, it's because Dre Kirkpatrick got a head start. No. Lagway is like 45, 46 years old, somewhere in that range. His son was born when he was like 28. And he's in college. That's what make me feel old.
I wonder what the situation, speaking of Lagway, Billy Napier will almost certainly be fired. If you're Lagway, do you stick it out at Florida or you pop your head in the transfer portal and see what's around?
So I would say you stick your head in the portal, but I wish these kids understood, especially these quarterbacks, stay where you are better off in almost all cases, staying where you are. If they go get somebody and that just jumps over you, that's one thing. But my example is Quinn Ewers, and it's working out okay with Quinn Ewers at Texas. But Quinn Ewers went to Ohio State. He went early so that he could get a bag because Texas wouldn't allow NIL money. So he went up there to get the bag. He lost out to C.J. Stroud, at which point he then went to Texas. But I contend that if he had stayed at Ohio State, let Stroud play out those 2 years, or why don't you try to beat him out? That's always possible too, right? Let Stroud play those 2 years. He would have had a year throwing the ball to 18.
Marvin
he would have had a year throwing the ball to that dude, and then he'd be in the NFL right now, right? Like, if you don't think you can win out a job as a junior, then you tripping. That's what's Arch. Arch is going to get that job in Austin as a junior. All you got to do is put up 1 year of film. You ain't got to put up 2-3 years to prove nothing to them. You just got to put up 1 year. So if I'm Lagway and they hire somebody decent, I stay. Because if you don't go to the league, you always on scholarship. You spend your time there, you stay there, you make friends with some boosters, you ain't never gonna have no problem getting no money ever at any point in your life. That would be my recommendation to all of them, is to stay.
Yeah, I think he'll probably end up staying no matter what happens. I don't think that the fate of the QB, the fate of the coach is connected to the QB. I will say this, is that what happens is people look at these situations from the top down. And when you look at them from the top down, the transfer portal seems so alluring because you look at Jayden Daniels as a transfer quarterback. You look at, the only one that you're looking at that was like up there in New York that kind of wasn't one just recently was kind of Bryce Young. A lot of these guys, they transfer in for 1 year and they have all of this success, but nobody talks about some of the other names that you hear that are in new places and it's not working out. And these will be players that I haven't thought of in a long time. I'll turn on like a Mac game or something like that and they'll be like, oh my God, that's what I'm like, God, he's still playing? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like he in the league, you know what I mean? So he's not in the league yet, but for a lot of times for quarterbacks like jumping around, it doesn't work. Like for right now, DJU, it's not working in Florida. A lot of the other people, Florida and Tallahassee, should I say, it's not working there. It's for a lot of the other intangibles that he would have needed to be successful there, they haven't come along, including some of the offensive schemes and some of the other players and receivers that he would have needed to hit. But they see, oh, look what it did for Bo Nix. They see, look what it did for Michael Penix Jr. They see all that and they go, if it's not working for me here, forget about learning the system and being able to master it. Let's just go to another place and like I can catch lightning on the bottom.
Yeah. Now, Michael Penix, I think, is his own unique situation because he was at Indiana.
Because of the injuries. Yeah.
In
Indiana.
Yeah. I mean, if anybody thought you were as good as you turned out to be, I just don't feel like you would have gone to Indiana in the first place, right? Like I got that, and you're right. It works out well for them dudes, but the truth is, most of y'all ain't going to the league. And that's the part that nobody ever believes. But it's an important thing to let them know. Most of y'all ain't going to the league. That's not an insult. But since you're not, in all likelihood, not going to the league, stick around somewhere long enough. You might become the radio voice. You can get you a little local podcast going there. You can get a job working, selling cars. They love to go buy a car from an old Tar Heel, from an old Hawkeye. They love to go do those things. But I believe that a long-term connection with a program is more important than the things that these dudes are hopping and skipping and going all these places and trying to get. That's my read. But I also understand I won't be the one to try to kill your dream, right? Like, I'll never forget when I was a TA at Carolina and one of my favorite students came up to me and he was struggling in the class. And he did poorly on the test and he asked me if I thought that he should drop the class. And I told him, I'm not going to be the person to tell you to drop the class. But what I am going to say is you can ask yourself, have you been working as hard as you could have? Is there anything that you could do to improve your performance? And if you think that you can do things to improve your performance, then you should absolutely stay in the class, right? And he did, and he passed. And that was that stuck with me forever because I could have told the boy to give up. This was 20 years ago. It was like I could have told him to give up. The professor told me to tell him to give up, and I didn't have it in my heart to tell him to give up. So I don't ever want to be the person that's like, yo, your dream is going to get squashed. At the same time, sometimes you got to come up to somebody and do like my dad did when I played baseball and I made the all-star team because I could pitch. And I had always fancied myself as a hitter, and my daddy explained to me, you need to slap the ball on the ground and run, son. You're not about to be hitting the ball into these alleys. You're not taking them deep, right? Like you need to be out here. You need to manufacture some runs. That's gonna be you. I was mad. He couldn't have been more right. He could not have been more correct. And somebody need to tell some of these boys, y'all need to slap the ball around right where you at. Try to hit that home run over there ain't gonna happen.
Man, rest in peace to my dad, man. It's so important to have somebody in your life to keep it real. My dad looked at one of my homies one time and he wanted to play on the outside. He's like, nah, we're going to bring you in. You're going to play a little bit more tight end for us. We're going to get you some nice 6-7 yard routes. You're going to be the master of the curl, the master of the dig. You know, like we're going to get you some nice routes there. We're going to get you some nice routes where you sit down and find some nice soft spots. And no, man, I want to be like, what was your man that was on the outside for the Cowboys at the time? Not Michael Irvin, but
Alvin
the other
Harper.
guy went to Tampa Bay. Alvin Harper. He was like, I want to be Alvin Harper. My dad, Alvin Harper, my dad looked at him and was like, son, look at your calves. you will never be Alvin Harper. It's like, son, look at your calves. Like, you will never be Alvin Harper. That's not, you're not like Alvin Harper. You're not Alvin Harper, okay? Like, you're not going to be Alvin Harper. He's like, you Jay Novacek. And Jay Novacek is on the Cowboys too. All right? You never beat Alvin Harper. But you need somebody to keep it real for you every now and again. That was hilarious.
My buddy Joel always talks about when one of the coaches at TCU told him he had feet like a lineman, but he was a running back. And that's like, oh, okay. You're telling me it's time to go pro in something else.
But look, I think this about LSU, man. I haven't seen anything from LSU right now that makes me not believe in where things have happened. We're coming off of 2 back-to-back 10-win seasons. It has not always been easy to watch this team play. What we have all learned as LSU fans is all of those years that we had inept offense but amazing defense, that's how we preferred it.
Yes.
Like, we liked it better that way.
Oh, no, like, bad defense is the worst feeling in the world.
It can't, bruh. Like, all the years that we had studs on the defense, like ridiculous, every single position. You talking about Jamal Adamses, and you talking about Devin Whites and Danielle Hunters and Barkevious Mingos and all of these guys that were all the time that we had those guys on the defense. Yeah, we did not have quarterbacks that could literally throw forward passes. And it was so frustrating. We had a great running game and game manager, not even game managers. We're talking about Michigan style shit like that happened last week with USC. That's better to watch. There is nothing like giving up 3rd and 9 4 times in a row. Bro, it is just so hard, dog.
The sincerity on your face right now is so perfect.
Bro, there is nothing like giving up 3rd and 9. Of course, there's nothing like 3rd and 12. We're off the field. It's over. It's 3rd and 12, 14-yard pass. Like, scramble. There's nothing like it. Your soul just leaves your body, bro. They make you cut the game off. It really will make you cut the game off, bro. So we've learned that was a better football. Terrible, man.
Oh, my God, it's so bad. Because, see, that's what Oklahoma fans right now, I think they're getting the opposite for the first time, where they have the great defense and the terrible offense. Right? Because, look, Oklahoma had a run where they just, Stoops had everything going. And then they could never get that defense thing right. But trotting out a team, and look, okay, so it's one thing when your team just has bad defense, but as anybody can tell you, a team with bad run defense, that's the worst feeling in the world.
Terrible. LSU knocked Lenore Sellers out of the game. And we're like, okay, well, look, we're down 17-0 in this game, a game that we should not have won, but we pulled it out. We're down 17-0 in the game. Their quarterback is out. All we got to do is continue to score points. And Robbie Ashford's not going to be able to beat you. Like, he's not going to be able to throw the ball to beat you. Hand the ball off, Rocket Sanders, 65-yard touchdown. I'm like, what's going on, bro? What's the deal? Like, what's happening? They hand the ball off. We know what they're going to do. It's very tough. So, look, new defensive staff. I feel like a lot of the teams that we thought were going to be the dominant teams this year thus far are having a rocky road of it. I think, Tennessee's playing so much better than we expected. Obviously, Notre Dame had the bewildering loss at home to Northern Illinois. Oregon hasn't been quite what we expected them to be. We don't know much about Georgia. Hasn't looked great. We'll know more about Georgia on Saturday. We don't know anything about Ole Miss yet. They haven't gotten to the teeth of their schedule. So, right now, Texas looks like, Texas is the only team that has real sizzle to it. That, in my opinion, that looks like, oh my God, these guys are from end to end a team that doesn't have very many weaknesses. So I think everybody's kind of figuring it out right now. It'll just be about, in this era of the expanded playoff, who can get to that playoff being the most certain about what it is that they do well and having, the team solidified as much.
Well, Georgia plays Alabama this week, and so we're going to find out one of two things from Alabama. We're either going to find out that Alabama is good, or we're going to find out where Kalen DeBoer lives when they decide to show up and throw a brick through the window. It's coming.
Did you see Kalen very deftly?
That's what I was about to say. He was getting out the way. They tried to ask him about Trump coming to the game, and he was like, "Whoa, that's your boy."
Kalen was like, Kalen was like, look, so, we got to go out there and control what we can control, not about who comes to the game. And, it's great to have people want to come to the game. But this is what I talk about with my players. Everybody doing their job. And he goes on this thing. I'm like, Kalen don't want to talk about that.
No. He already has the most demanding and I imagine bewildering job there's ever been. All the outsiders who come and take that Alabama job get the hell out of Dodge as soon as they can, or it just gets bad. Like when Ray Perkins got there, no, he got the hell out of Dodge. Bill Curry, they got him out of Dodge after he won 10 games. Dennis Franchione gave it 1 year. And was like, no. What have I stepped into?
So he was very, I'm like, Kalen, he doesn't want to wade into it. I will say this, bro. He's a great coach. They're playing better than I thought they would. Like, they found some things already that I didn't think they would be able to find. Obviously, Ryan Williams, that's the kind of player I just don't understand, bro. Like, I don't understand somebody. You know, you see guys coming to your team and it takes them a little while to figure out how to acclimate themselves to college football. Then you see a 17-year-old kid that's just doing all that kind of stuff. You know, they'll go as far as Jalen Milroe's development or let them go into short and intermediate passing game. But he's got them playing well. I really thought that they would, at first, you know, take a step back, and maybe they still will. They haven't played like exceptionally well, but it seems like they're playing confident and they know who they are, which I thought it would take them a second to find their identity, but it seems like they know who they are. Like I said, we'll know more on Saturday.
I recommend Kalen DeBoer win 11 games a year. 11.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Not 10, 11. Them back-to-back 10 and 3s y'all got is cool for Baton Rouge. I recommend that he win 11 games a year.
I mean, for him, look, he's got two things. Number one, Alabama and Notre Dame, they really defined the culture of college football winning. Those were the programs that did it. And on the black college level, you know, Grambling, those are the programs that did it. And for a long time, Alabama had forgotten that, right? And then Nick Saban reminded them.
Yes. Well, no. That's the thing. They had never forgotten it. It had just been a long time, and they were pissed. They were pissed about it, but they had never forgotten. And then you're right. Saban proved that they weren't crazy, right? Because everybody, we all told them they were crazy. We all told them they needed to chill out. We all told them we do that to every blue blood program. Like, every time it gets down, you're just never going to be like that again. And then they get the person in. Like Pete Carroll for USC, for example, right? We were doing the same thing to them. Alabama did it with Saban. These people now know there is no reason why we can't finish in the top 10 16 years in a row. Why not?
But when you look at Pete Carroll at SC, you see a fan base that's still chasing the ghost of Pete Carroll.
That's right.
And that situation, if that were to happen at Alabama, I don't know if the fan base, because, you know, in LA, they'll go do something else.
Yeah.
Like, college football is on.
Not else.
Yeah. In LA, they'll be like, oh, okay, well, Kobe.
Right.
Show Otani. The Oscars are in town. They'll literally go do something else. They care about it, but they'll make other plans. In Alabama, Tuscaloosa, there are no other plans.
No. They'll stop watching at the stadium and go stay at home until they shoot the TV. But they're going to watch that game. And then they're going to get the new TV before the next game.
They're going to care. And so for him, and look, I think a lot of people that celebrated Nick Saban's departure, which he's not going to be as good as Nick Saban, but, you know, I think that they underestimated what a great coach the guy is. The guy's a great coach, and I think he's going to have success there.
He hasn't just won everywhere he's been. He's won big at all the levels, at all the places that he's been. No.
Yeah.
If you watch that team at Washington last year, you're like, oh, no. This dude is a problem. It's just that no one's ever had the run that Saban had before. So it's unrealistic to expect somebody to do what he's done again. I think the question is just going to be whether DeBoer can do it enough so that when they get salty, he can calm them down quick. But 9-3 and 9-3 and back-to-back years, and we're going to be talking about who the next Kalen DeBoer is. And no, he can do 3 9-3s. He can get away with 3 9-3s.
He can get away with them. Not in a row. Even if they don't fire him, they'll make him quit. It just won't be fun. Not in a row. I mean, look at the Dan Mullen situation. if you go back and look at what Dan Mullen was doing over there, there was one down year, but for the most part, Dan Mullen had those guys playing. It just wasn't good enough for what they expected to be at Florida.
Yeah, but then they got bad.
And
then they got bad. Like they got legitimately bad.
They got bad, but also Dan Mullen didn't seem like there was a whole bunch of things that went on there. I think there's a little bit of revisionist history about it seemed like Dan Mullen himself didn't really want to be doing the job at a certain point. He wasn't really super amped about recruiting. That maybe he was having people put his name up for NFL jobs and all those types of different situations were going on. So there were some cultural things that were going on there too. But for the most part, they were a very successful program when he was there. I think part of what happens with college football programs, the most difficult part is when you're good, but you think you should be better.
Yes. When
you're good, but you think that you should be better, there's no way to talk the fan base back from that.
Nope.
Because there's nothing. If you think that you should be better, you think that there's something on the other side. And, no disrespect to Billy Napier, a guy who a lot of people think is a nice guy, but that's how you end up with Billy Napier. You end up with someone who you think can come and make the program better and will be better, and then he doesn't, and you realize what everybody else is living like.
Oh, it's never a good sign when somebody has to start with the no disrespect. But that is my man, Van Lathan. Check him out. Higher Learning with Rachel Lindsay on The Ringer. You know what I mean? What's that? By the way, we talked about this on the pod a while ago. I'm just saying this real quick before we get out. Has there ever been a greater no disrespect than Birdman saying no disrespect to reading books?
No, that's the best one ever. No disrespect to reading books. No disrespect to how humanity gained its wisdom and knowledge. But I got something to say.
No disrespect to read. And the dude was just like, we need some books and we can write our appeals. He's like, you really think some books? No disrespect to reading books.
My God, bro.
Who does that?
My own state, man.
Oh, yeah. Hey, look, man, y'all, look, your whole state is one thing. New Orleans is a whole nother animal. And even Baton Rouge is not, Baton Rouge, Slidell ain't the same as New Orleans. Baton Rouge ain't the same as New Orleans. Nothing is the same as New Orleans. Right. Not in America. Not in America. You can go over to France, maybe in Nice. You think it's like New Orleans. No, they only made one of those, boy. And you don't want to be in that jail. That's the jail Puffy didn't want to be in. You imagine they told Puffy instead of sending him to the Fed, they would send him to the New Orleans City Jail or Angola. Like if somehow he caught a state of Louisiana charge.
Coke can in the shower. Go look that up. Y'all go look up the Coke can in the shower interview. Go look that up. And then that'll make you not take that mission. No. Look up the Coke can in the shower.
Look, honestly, that'll stop them boys from dropping out of school in Louisiana. Y'all start showing them that a little bit sooner. Y'all all be on the straight and narrow. They all want to go to St. Aug. Get me in there right now.
Yeah, we trying. We trying, man. We trying to save them.
My brother, I appreciate you, man.
Always, Bo. Always.
All right, now. Sean, you got the prize picks for the people.
I sure do, Bo. Thursday night football, Giants versus the Cowboys, a big NFC East matchup. I'm going to take Malik Nabers, 0.5 rush reception touchdowns. I'll take more there. CeeDee Lamb, we saw him complaining on the sideline, so I think he's going to be a little angry and want some more touches. So 0.5 rush reception touchdowns, we'll take more there as well. Daniel Jones, 28.5 rush yards. If he's going to do anything, he's going to run. And Dak Prescott, 35.5 pass attempts. I see them airing it out a bunch in that Thursday night game.
All right, there we go. And ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for joining us here on The Right Time. We do this 3 times a week. That was Sean Yu. He handles things behind the scenes. Thank you, sir. Remember, follow The Right Time. Subscribe, like, rate us, review us, give us 5 stars. You only give us 4 stars. I'm inclined to believe you are a hater. We'll talk to you guys in a couple of days. Take it easy.